Let me be a voice of reason. What I want to talk to you about is wax. I think the problem with one of many problems, and yes, I'm leaning against the truck. I know what I'm doing. I've got to polish this thing so it doesn't matter. I've got nothing on my clothes that's going to damage this truck. I think most people have unrealistic expectations when it comes to wax. Wax is meant to protect and enhance your paint. And when I say enhance, that is a combination of making it look better. How does it make it look better? Well, it covers up certain blemishes, certain flaws. It creates a more of a uniformed reflective surface so it shines better. It creates depth. How does it possibly create depth when it's a two-dimensional piece of material? I don't know, for lack of a better word, that's just what we call it. It's like, ooh, the paint looks deeper. Really? Can I put my hand into it? It's not. It's two-dimensional. It goes up and down, left and right. It's two-dimensional. But yet, they'll use all these cool, glorified words, glistening and the depth and the shine and all these adjectives to get you to buy the wax. If the paint surface sucks, the best wax in the world, whatever that means, the best, is not going to save your paint and make it perfect. So let's quit being unrealistic, people. That's where polishing, paint correction, paint enhancement techniques come in. So I'm going to demonstrate a kit that I think is a winning combination for most people. So when it comes to waxes, for example, this is one of my favorite, Ultimate Quick Wax. Now I sprayed a section here, but I haven't done a section here. Now if you look, this is what's called spider webbing. It looks like tiny little spider webs. Individual webs have been laid out all over this paint, okay? That's not called swirl marks. You may call it swirl marks, but that's not really what swirl marks are. People only call it swirl marks because on certain panels it will create a swirled pattern. That's because the sun is round and it will naturally cause a swirled pattern where it looks like the scratches have been created off a central point, and that's where they get the circular pattern, and they'll call it swirl marks. Okay, swirl marks are really marks that have been put into the paint by improper use of a high-speed buffer. Those are also what we used to call back in the 80s. I had someone write in and say, hey Darren, do a comparison between the 80s and now. Well, here's your little comparison moment. Most of it is that now we have all these glorified, ambiguous terms that are just a bunch, mostly hype. So now we don't call them buffer tracks. Now we got to call them holograms. It's like, I get it, because when you actually look at buffer tracks, and there's no buffer tracks here, what you're seeing is a result of the clay bar. But when you look at buffer tracks, they kind of usually go like this, and every time you change position, it's like they float on top of the paint. And so I get how that can be a logical conclusion to call it holograms, but mostly I think it confuses people, and mostly I think people, or so-called professionals or experts, use it to make themselves sound, like an expert. So it's buffer track. And then you have people that say, oh, I never wax in a circular motion because you'll put swirl marks in your paint. Well, guess what? Wax should, if it's really just a wax and you've already prepped the paint correctly, it shouldn't matter. The only way you're going to actually put swirl marks in your paint is if your cloth or your applicator pad has some form of abrasives on it, or your wax has some form of abrasives. Otherwise, go side to side, left to right, up and down, wax on, wax off. It really should not matter. Okay, so that's another area that people like to confuse or act like they're an expert. It's like, oh, never go that way because, or never do this, you'll put swirl marks in it. It's like, okay, yes, we get it. You sound cool, you know what you're doing, whatever. What they've done is they've oversimplified the moment, and they've just added confusion to an already confused industry. I don't care how much you pay for a wax. Okay, now they're not all created equal, and some are better than others. And what I mean by better is there's so many variables to it. How easy does it go on? How easy does it come off? Can you use it in direct sunlight? Will it chalk up later? Will it stain vinyl trim? Oh, that's not vinyl. This is vinyl up here. This is actually a bed liner. But nonetheless, if you put most traditional paste waxes on this, you would not be able to remove it out of the texture, and it would turn white and chalky over time. But like this product, which is a non-staining formulation, it will never turn this chalky and white. So for example, right there, I use this in the direct sunlight. This paint's probably about 160 degrees, and it has covered up a lot of the spider webbing marks that were put in by the clay bar. And yes, the clay bar will abrade your paint, folks. I don't care what the manufacturers say or what other detailers say. I don't care how much lubrication you use. Yes, you can diminish the amount of abrading it does, and if your paint has hardly any fallout on it to remove, then of course it's going to do less abrading, but yes, it will abrade the paint. The good news is that by the time you're done waxing it, whether you do it by machine or hand, you're not really going to be able to tell. I bust this out because it's so quick. I can use it in the direct sunlight. I've already polished my paint to a level that's acceptable for me, and I don't mean this truck, but I mean my black Denali. So all I'm doing is I just want to visually enhance it. I want it quick. I don't want to worry about staining the trim. So to me, this represents a winning combination based on my intentions or my ultimate goal, which is a quick, superficial visual enhancement. So that's why I'm a big fan of this Meguiar's Ultimate Quick Wax. But as you can see, I still have spider webbing showing up. That's because I don't have unrealistic expectations and I have not polished this paint. But honestly, if you pull back from here, you would look at the side of that truck and think, wow, this thing was just detailed. That's how most people are going to look at it. Anyhow, there's my 2 cents on wax.
Once a day that I would pray for you. I'd go and misbehave just so you'd notice too. Sneaking looks up and